Hello, just Dervish here. We're just going to do a quick walk around of this property refurb that we've currently got ongoing. It's 6 weeks today that we've picked up the property keys. So if anybody's not been following the weekly updates and so on, have a look through the YouTube channel, see how the property's been progressing and so on. And yeah, we'll just get straight into it. Now, one of the big things that's changed since last week is this down here, Cadent, the gas people have now brought in a feed into the property. So this property, when we obviously purchased it, didn't know that it was a dead in terms of no gas being brought into the property and so on. So just be aware of that. Although there might be a gas meter downstairs and all the pipes and so on, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a live feed. So it was actually a dead feed. So Cadent needed to come out to do an initial site visit to see whereabouts the new point is that they were going to bring in. So I'll probably talk to you about that in a minute. Now, this yellow thing here, it's probably got on our MPRN, and I think, don't quote me here, that's a meter point reference number. And the people that need that are the suppliers of the gas, really. So we've decided to go with Eon next for this. Don't know what they're going to be like, so we'll see. I'm not advocating them or anything like that. Hopefully they're going to be fantastic. So yeah, the gas meter then going back over there is probably likely to be maybe on this side or that side, wherever they decide to put it, and then obviously we're going to get that boxed in. But when we came to do our original viewing, however many weeks ago that was now, we saw that there was gas downstairs, we saw that there were pipes there, and we just assumed, wrongly, that there was gas to the property. It's just that it didn't have any boiler in or radiators or anything like that. So there was an old chap living here. So again, the property was quite dated, still looks quite dated now, and it had lots of, how can I say this nicely now, lots of furniture in here. So that was one of the first things we needed to do, obviously empty it, and that took a couple of skip loads really. So I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll just have a quick walk outside now so you can see the gas originally was downstairs in the cellar at the back of the house. What we've now had to do is bring it to the front of the house because that's what Cadent recommended would be easier. Now, I think the price for the dig out per metre was £145 to dig out. So we're lucky that it was only a metre that they needed to dig. If this had a really big front garden or back garden, and they needed to access it from that way, it would have cost us, let's say for instance, £145 per metre for them to dig it out. So just always have that in your mind. So if you're buying a property with a big front garden or back garden hasn't got gas, be aware that obviously it will need to be dug out for them if you wanted to save some money really. So just have a quick look outside, and we've also inherited a little nest of, I think they're a little nest of tables here. Don't know where it's come from. So got a nice little nest of tables there. Who knows where that's from? And coming over here then, obviously that's the new feed there that they put in. I think they did that on Monday and then they came back to backfill it and so on Tuesday. So that's where the gas is. So again, we're not really tidying up outside just yet because there's still going to be more skips that are coming to and from over the next couple of days. Just mind your step there. Let's come in. So yeah, going back to the main internal side of the property then. The two plasterboards that are left now, that's really what's slowing the job down really, because obviously the joiner's not here today because it won't take him that long to put two plasterboards. So we're waiting for the delivery, which is going to arrive on Friday. I think we've got another 18, 20 odd plasterboards arriving. And also this rock wool, which has gone in between the stud walls upstairs. We ordered two, we've managed to get away with it only using one. So when the plasterboard and the rest of the timber is being dropped off, they're obviously nicely taking that for us as well. Now, this floor has had what felt like 100 bags of self-leveling floor and screeding put on it. So if you can see now, it must be about an inch higher than in here. However, it's now a lot better than it was, and it's going to be a lot easier to fit the kitchen and so on like that when that time comes. I think the first fix was in last week on the plumbing. So the radiator is going there in this room, the kitchen. So although you can't make it out yet, this is the kitchen. It's going to be an L-shaped one. I think it goes to about here, 2.4 meters. Then it's likely to have a fridge there. We're not providing the fridge. We don't do any built-in appliances like that, definitely not. So they're likely to put the fridge there and the radiator there, really. So yeah, it's just going to be an L-shaped kitchen in here, extractor fan, oven hob. The sink will be here, and then the washing machine will be on that side. So again, all of the electrical stuff here from the first fix and so on. The actual meter is downstairs. We're not going to take you into the cellar. That was another thing we needed to do on this property. We needed to get Electricity Northwest, I think the company's called, I think so. They need to come out and replace the main incoming feed because it was very, very old and very, very dilapidated. So yeah, the boiler will be going here. And again, this was another little thing because nothing ever goes smoothly. If you can see where the socket was originally, or the socket's still there, but they chased that out there. However, the boiler's going to be going on this wall, and it was probably going to be a little bit too tight, if not impossible, for the fluid to be going out of that way. So we asked the electrician to obviously move it over there, which they have done. Yeah, so it's gone a little bit quiet now, this job, because we're waiting for the plasterer. But I'd rather wait for a decent plasterer who I know is going to turn up on time and do a proper week's work and obviously leave at the appropriate time as well, rather than think, I need to keep the job moving. So let's just get any type of plasterer and then, hope for the best. You're far better off leaving this job now where we are, empty for 7 days, waiting for a decent trade to come in who can then obviously crack on with it. Fell for that mistake before in the past where I wanted everything to run smoothly. Of course, we always want things to run smoothly, but I'm willing to delay the project for probably about 7-8 days just to let things slow down, because I know that as soon as the plaster is in, it'll really start to take shape. So just a little tip there for any new investors watching this. We'll head on upstairs. Again, this is the first time you've watched this video. I suggest you look at some of the older stuff as well. Maybe the first day that we got the keys, we needed to take some room off here. You can see where the old ceiling was. And again, you'd need to be dipping down into this. So from there now, created some more headroom. Moving straight up then into here. Now, at the top of the stairs, this was something that we didn't mention last week. We've just decided while we're here now, we might as well board all of this and on the inside as well, because obviously it's pretty much gone that anyway. So while the property is now a building site, it's best off to do it now. Set and forget. Always remember that. If you're doing these deep refurbs, the B triple R, whatever it is, whatever strategy you're using, always try and go for that set and forget. We want the refurb pretty much to be 99% done, brand new house-ish, so that it hopefully minimalizes maintenance moving forward. Moving into here, again, I don't think there's really, maybe, not that much progress on that since last week, because like I said, waiting for the timber, the wood to be dropped off on Friday, the rest of the plasterboards, which will be on that delivery as well. The first fix electrics was in last week. The first fix, here we go. Plumbing was also in last week, so that's probably on the video. I think that's a new addition from last week. So again, this is the stairs down there, so we needed to take probably 6-8 inches off this bedroom to make sure there was more headroom on the stairs. That's probably likely to just come up here like that one, and then probably about 2 foot high, something like that, and it's just boxed it off nice and neatly. It won't be down here. We'll just want to make sure it's probably about there, really. So I think that's it for this room. If we're going to go into here, now I put a video on this on Saturday or a few days ago. We looked at another property in our investment area, pretty much identical footprint as this, where this area that you're in now, that was the bathroom, and it was classed as a 1-bedroom, because obviously it was. So we were thinking, could we do the same thing on that potential property that we're doing here? However, the maths didn't work out. Again, if you've watched any of my stuff before, don't ever try and fudge the figures. The figures are what they are. Of course, you want to make sure you secure the property at the lowest price possible for you, locking in profit from day one, which allows you then to have any and the contingencies in the refurbs and so on like that, because things do go over budget, things do go over time and so on. So you want to make sure you're locking in profit from day one. But going back to that viewing, it just didn't work. We'd need it at, it was up for 120. A sale had fallen through with somebody else at 105. For us even to be anywhere near that, we'd need it at 90 for us to make any type of money on it. So if you're a new investor and you're dying to get your hands on keys, fantastic, well done, but keep looking. Don't just, one of my mentors used to say this, no deal is better than a bad deal. So just try and keep that there. So going into this area now, again, at one point a few weeks ago, this was all one big room. Yes, this had a double bed in. The shower was in that corner, and the toilet and sink was in this corner, it was all in one room. There wasn't any divide or stud wall or anything like that. So maybe have a look back on a few of these videos. Coming into what is like the main bedroom really, I think improvement since last week. That's now ready to be plastered. I think that it'd been knocked out last week, but I don't think it'd been completely finished. And another little tip, make sure, and I mention this a lot on my videos, that all the quotes you receive include the trades getting rid of the rubbish. Okay, this was a mistake from us really. There was just a slight miscommunication because I hate this type of setup. I want to make sure that everything's gone when that trade is finished. And it's always a good thing to say that, you know, we're not paying you because you've left loads of mess. But again, it needs to have been agreed beforehand, really. So another bad thing about that is, especially when you've got lots of trades, where I can say, for instance, the plumber was here, the carpenter, whoever, the plasterer, that's then sending signals that that's where we leave the rubbish. And if you come back in a few days, there'll be a pile of rubbish there, you know, sandwich wrappers, burger wrappers, anything like that, and it all just gets left. Again, what I was mentioning, still needs a plasterboard up there, but that should hopefully be cracking on Friday, really. What else? I mentioned that last week as well. The copper pipe there, ready for dropping down. If you remember, the gas has been brought in just down on the lower floor, so we're waiting for the meter. So he hasn't really, obviously, finished that yet. I think that's pretty much it in here. This property at the moment, though, we're not going to change the windows and the doors because they're not actually that old. They look a mess now at the moment, but I know that they'll come up very, very clean. But again, it's always dependent on what your end user is. If we were looking to flip this property, then of course I'd change it all. But you've got to be aware that that's again going to be adding on £2,000, £3,000. There's 2 windows downstairs. Well, there's 3 now, but we've already paid for that one. There's 2 windows that need replacing on the front of the house and a front door, and 2 windows on the back. So again, there's a couple of grand there, but for what we're looking to achieve, hopefully they're going to come up looking quite well, and it'll still rent this. In this area, there's only 2 properties available within a quarter of a mile of this property, 825 and 850, but they're not brand new properties as this will be. They don't have a brand new bathroom or a brand new kitchen or have been, you know, full gas central heating system, brand new boiler. So this property will be brand new. So obviously it's probably going to be going up at about 895 this. We'll see what happens. Moving through here then, in an ideal world, we would have probably liked that on this side, but there's hardly anything in it really. Just obviously the isolator switch for the kitchen, for the shower, and the light switch there to go into this, which the bathroom. Now, if you can come through here, the bath is going to be there, and then down that side there is obviously the toilet and also the sink, and then a radiator on this side or that side. We'll see what happens. Now, I've mentioned this previously before. The width of the bath really determined the width of this room. In an ideal world, we'd like this to have been 2, 3, 4 inches narrower, but what we didn't want to do is have the bath in there and then obviously this be really, really narrow, or too narrow, should I say. And what we didn't want to do is only put a shower in, because then if we're looking to attract the small family market, showers, especially for newborn babies and obviously toddlers and so on, a little bit of a turn off for mums. So wanted to make sure it did have the space for a bath really, and nobody knows where these have come from. The electrician doesn't know where it's come from. The joiner doesn't know where they've come from. The plumber doesn't know where they've come from. So miraculously, we've just inherited two extra floorboards there. Obviously, they've come from somewhere, but nobody knows. This has been a massive benefit here because, like I said before a couple of minutes ago, this property only had that big window upstairs in this bedroom. So there was no window here. So that's obviously provided a lot more light into this area. And it's now meant that we could obviously create this bathroom really. So when you're doing the BRRR strategy, again, I'm sure if you're still watching this now, you know what it means, but buy, refurbish, refinance, then rent. Make sure that when you're doing the refurbishing that you're taking all things into consideration really, because if this didn't have a window, would it have lowered the price? Maybe, who knows? If it didn't have, you know, other certain things, it all adds to it. So again, that was one of the reasons why we always put in new windows and doors, but we're going to see how this one goes for this really. If you've managed to get to the end of this video, thank you very much. Give it a like, but do me a favor as well, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, okay, to keep up to date with any of these property videos that we put out. We've probably got here now, probably another 4 weeks really. The plaster will probably take a week. Then we're going to have the kitchen and the woodwork all delivered just after the plaster is finished. That should hopefully get boxed off quite quickly, and that's when it really starts to take shape really. When the plaster is dried, the woodwork's on, and then the painting. And the best part of it is when you go in getting carpets, because you know that when carpets are about to be fitted, that's it, done, especially with properties like this with no front or back garden. So keep investing in your mindset, keep investing in your knowledge, but don't just gather knowledge for the sake of gathering knowledge. Make sure you're gathering that knowledge to implement to improve your life. Like I said, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the channel and good luck in your investing, okay? Take care. Good luck.